What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Oak Tree Football channel, and in today's video, I'll be taking a look at my 2020 College Football Conference Championship predictions. Obviously, the college football season is a very long time away, and I'll probably do some more predictions right before the season starts, but at the moment, these are my predictions for the championship games. I'll be taking a look at some candidates to go to the championship game. I'll be taking a look at the matchup I have in the championship game, and then I'll be giving a winner. This is only for the Power 5 conferences. Just wanted to put that out. It will not be for the other ones, only Power 5 conferences, which of course is the SEC, the Pac-12, the Big 12, the Big 10, and the ACC. I've done most of the teams I think will be towards the top. I haven't done everyone, but I think I've done enough that I can do this video. So the ones I haven't done yet that I mentioned in this video, those will be coming soon. But let's get into it. So starting it off with the SEC. In my opinion, the SEC is the best conference in football, in college football that is. It's just really fun conference. So many teams that are competitive every single season. This year it's more the same. There's so many good teams this year. There's honestly 6 teams that I think there's a chance could be ranked in the top 10 this year, which is just unbelievable. And there's 8, maybe even 9 teams I think can be ranked overall. But the SEC is going to be a really good conference this season, and there are some really good teams, like I said. So getting into looking at the candidates, for the East side, the contenders I have are Florida and Georgia. These are 2 teams that I think will both be really good this season, but it's really just going to come down to when they play against each other. I feel like whoever wins the game will probably go to the championship. I do think Georgia will win a lot of games this season. I think Florida will probably win a lot, but they could also win. Currently my prediction for them is 11, but I could also see them going at 9 or 10 wins. So it's really going to come down to that Georgia-Florida game. Whoever wins that game is probably going to go to the championship, in my opinion. Even if Florida does win, though, I still think there's a chance that Georgia goes. But it's such an important game, and if Georgia does win, I think there's a chance Florida goes as well. Because both these teams are both in the SEC, obviously, which means they do have some tough games this season. But it's really going to come down to the Florida-Georgia game. But there's a lot of other games that have a big impact on it. I think it can be very close between these two, and I'm very excited to see how it ends up. Looking over on the West side, there's four real teams I could see contending for it. That's Alabama, Texas A&M, Auburn, and LSU. Texas A&M is the least likely for me. I feel like we will need to see a step up from a lot of players for that to happen. I'm not counting it out, but I do think it's possible, but it's not very likely in my opinion. They're definitely the least likely. I think they'll finish 4th in the West. I think they can win 9 games though, like 9-10 wins. So I still think they'll be a good team this season. I just don't think they'll be able to finish top of the West, which is such a tough conference. There's Auburn, of course. Auburn is really a sneaky team for me. They could potentially even win the West. I know that's most people would not agree with that, but it is a possibility if you really look at it. Auburn has talent on that roster, and if Bo Nix can seriously step up, which I think is a possibility, maybe even play like a Heisman quarterback, Auburn can be really, really deadly this season. They do have some tough games on their schedule, but I do think it's possible Auburn does win the division, but I'm not sure how likely that is. I don't think it's as likely as Alabama or LSU, but I do think that is a possibility. Then there's Bama. Bama every year, you're never really going to count Bama out. They're always up there. I do think Bama's roster this season is actually worse than last year, but I think they have a better chance of actually winning the division than last year because LSU is losing talent, and they did lose a bit, but not too much. I'm really interested to see how Mac Jones will play. I'm thinking Bama is the favorite at this point. I'm not saying that they're 100% going to win, but they are the favorite. And then there's LSU coming off the national championship, but they're just losing so much. They still obviously are a talented football team, and they're very well coached, but they're just losing so much. So for my SEC championship game, I have the Georgia Bulldogs facing the Alabama Crimson Tide. These teams play in week 3. I think that Georgia will be able to beat Florida, and I do think Alabama will be able to win their games. There's 5 games this season I could see Alabama losing. I don't think they're going to lose all those 5 games. There's just 5 tough games. This is going to be a fun matchup, to be honest. This is going to be a really, really good game, and it's going to be a very important one, I think, for the college football playoff, because these are 2 teams I think can be in contention for the playoff. But at the moment, I am picking Georgia for this one. I think Georgia will probably go, in my opinion, undefeated in the regular season, maybe lose 1 game, and I think this win will guarantee them a spot in the playoff. So that's the SEC done. Moving on to the Pac-12. Pac-12 isn't that great of a football conference. Obviously, it's not terrible because it is Power 5 conference, but it's one of the worst Power 5 conferences, in my opinion. So looking at the contenders, I have 4 contenders. In the North, the first contender is Oregon. This one's obvious. Oregon is always a contender. Yeah, Oregon is always a contender, even though they're losing Justin Herbert. This is a very talented football team. C.J. Verdell is a running back. He's a running back. I think he can have a really big season. I just think Oregon as a whole will have a good season because they're such a good football team year after year. And then Cal, this one might surprise some people, but Cal looks like a team that can actually be really, really good this season. The roster is definitely talented. They keep on growing. They were pretty good at the end of last season, and I think they're due to have a big season, and I think this will be that season. I'm pretty sure they won't be as good as Oregon, but I do think they will be pretty good this season. So that's why I have them as a contender. They probably won't make the championship, but if it's not going to be Oregon, I think Cal has the best chance. Looking over on the South is more open in my opinion. The first contender is USC. USC was pretty good this past season. Keaton Slovis is a pretty good quarterback. They have some talent on that roster. They are losing some players like Michael Pittman, but they are still a very talented football team. And I think they can be pretty good this season. They just have a tough schedule, so maybe right around that 10-win mark, around that 9-win mark. That is where I would put them. And then Arizona State is the other contender. I would put them at about the same amount of wins as USC. They're a good football team. They're not great, but there are some games I could see them winning this season. I also actually have them 9-3, so I have both those teams 9-3. Looking at the championship, I got Oregon without a doubt, and then I do have USC. Even though Arizona State was also 9-3, I do have USC actually beating Arizona State. That is why I have them going into the championship. But the championship wasn't that hard for me to predict. I have Oregon winning it. The Pac-12 just wasn't too hard for me to predict as a whole. I feel like it's kind of more clear who the better teams will be and which teams will be better than the others. And in my opinion, Oregon is clearly the best team. Moving on to the Big 12. Big 12, just like the Pac-12, in my opinion, is one of the worst Power 5 conferences, but just like the Pac-12, it's still a Power 5 conference, so it is still good. Looking at the contenders, the Big 12, of course, does not have divisions. It's only one big conference, so 4 contenders. Oklahoma State. Oklahoma State is a team I think can surprise a lot of people this season. I think they'll be really, really good. You really look at their team, especially their offense. They had some injuries last season. If everyone comes back healthy, their offense can be seriously, seriously good. With Spencer Sanders, Chuba Hubbard, and Tylan Wallace, that can be one of the best trios in college football, if I'm honest. And I could seriously see Oklahoma State potentially being a playoff contender if all goes right for them. If they can go... So, at the moment, I think they'll go 10-2 in my opinion, but I could see them going 11-1. If they go 11-1, make the championship game, and win, this could be a serious team that could be considered for the playoff. That is kind of a long shot for that to happen, but I do think it's a possibility. Next up is Iowa State. I think Iowa State can be pretty good this season. Probably around 9 wins, I would say. I haven't done the prediction yet, but they will be coming soon. I think Iowa State can be pretty good. They got some talent on that roster. I think it'll be tough for them to make the championship game just because I think the Big 12 will be pretty good this year. But I think they'll definitely be a good team. Next up, it's Oklahoma. They're always there. They've been so good for the past few years. They've been in the playoffs 4 times since it began, which is really, really good. And they will probably be up there again, even though they are losing talent like Jalen Hurts and CeeDee Lamb. I think it's going to be a pretty good season from them. I could even see them challenging for a playoff spot again. They're just that good of a football team. And they will probably be in the Big 12 championship. I would say they're the most likely out of these four. And then fourth is Texas. I think Texas will be pretty good this season. Definitely an improvement from last season. I don't think they're going to be fantastic like they once were, but I do think they will improve. And for my Big 12 championship, I'm going with Oklahoma State versus Oklahoma. This is going to be a really, really fun game. If this does happen, I'm very excited for it if it does happen. And this could have some serious implications. If Oklahoma State does coming in with an 11-1 record, I think Oklahoma will probably be coming in with an 11-1 record. This game could have some serious implications for the playoffs. At the moment, though, I'm going to be going with Oklahoma in this one. I just think Oklahoma is the better football team. Overall, I think, personally, I would say Oklahoma State would have the better offense if they can stay healthy, but I just think Oklahoma is the better team overall. I'm taking Oklahoma in this one. Moving on to the ACC. The ACC is one of my favorite football conferences to watch every single season. There's some very good football teams in there. Of course, Clemson usually in the playoff and usually in a national championship game as well. They have been one of the best teams for the past few years. So for the Atlantic Division, the contenders I have are Louisville and Clemson. Obviously, Clemson had to be in there. They're so good every single season, and they're really not losing too much talent. The only thing that could seriously hurt them is Isaiah Simmons, but I do think they should be able to handle that pretty well. They had to be up here, honestly. They're a contender for probably the national championship, and they had to be here. The other one is Louisville. I don't think Louisville will make it to the championship, but I did put them in because I think they will be pretty good this season. Obviously, I don't think they'll be better than Clemson, but I think they'll definitely be pretty good. They have talent on that roster. I think they'll be a pretty good team. I nearly put Florida State in as a contender. I'm just not sure if Florida State is really going to be that good this season. But if I was going to add one more team, it would be Florida State. Looking at the coastal contenders, first one is North Carolina. North Carolina is a good football team, really, when you look at it. Especially quarterback Sam Howell could actually be fantastic this season, maybe even a Heisman Trophy candidate. I expect North Carolina to be really good. Same with Virginia Tech. They just have some tough games on the schedule, but the ones that aren't much of a challenge should all be pretty easy wins. They just have some tough games like against Penn State, at Louisville, I believe at North Carolina. Those games are going to be pretty tough for them, and then they have to play after being at Louisville. They have to play Pitt 5 days later. That's going to be pretty tough. I do still think they'll be a contender. They do have some tough games on that schedule, so I think it will be a bit tough for them to make it here. And then the last one is Miami. This one is kind of a dark horse candidate. Miami, of course, Miami's been okay. They haven't been anything great, but they haven't been terrible either these past few seasons. And then they were able to bring in De'Ara King. Maybe he could have a fantastic season. I don't think he'll be that good, but if he really is as good as he was back in 2018, Miami should be a candidate. I nearly put Pitt in here, but I decided not to at the end of the day. But I could see Pitt being pretty good this season. For the ACC championship game, I have Clemson versus North Carolina. Clemson should be you guys should have expected that one. I don't really think that there was any doubt that I would not put Clemson there. And then North Carolina, I do think North Carolina will be the best in their division this season over Virginia Tech and Miami and even Pitt. I just think that they're going to be really good. I think Sam Howell's going to be really good. I'm taking UNC for the championship game. I'm not taking them to win. I will be taking Clemson to win. This should be pretty obvious, honestly. Clemson will probably go undefeated this season. They have such a good team. And, yeah, I think it'll be a pretty fun game. North Carolina versus Clemson in the championship game, that'll be pretty fun. But Clemson is the better team, and without a doubt, I do have them winning this conference. And then the final conference, the Big Ten. So contenders for the Big Ten. The Big Ten is one of the best conferences in football, probably the second best, I would say. The East contenders are Wisconsin and Minnesota, two very good football teams, and I think it will really come down to when they play each other, similar to Florida and Georgia. I think it will really come down to when they play against the game they play against each other, who will win that one. I think it'll be Wisconsin, and I am leaning towards Wisconsin for the East. I would not be surprised if it's Minnesota, but I am leaning towards Wisconsin to go back for the second year in a row. And then there's the West. This is so interesting to me. In my prediction videos, I had Ohio State beating Penn State, going undefeated, and I had Penn State going 10-2. But that was that was a while ago. It wasn't too long ago, but I've kind of recently I've really started to look at this Penn State team more and more, and I've really started liking it a lot more. Penn State is one that has been one of the most consistent teams in college football these past few seasons. They've been in the top 12 at least for like the past 4 years. They're one of 4 teams to do that. They're very consistent, and they could really be good this season. So I have dropped one of their losses. I think they'll go 11-1 now. I could actually see Penn State beating Ohio State, being at home. I would not be surprised if that happened, but at the moment, I think I'm still going to go with Ohio State. So I got Wisconsin, Ohio State in a rematch of last year. Ohio State, of course, won that game, and I'm taking them again here. Ohio State is just too good of a football team. The only real it's going to be so important with Penn State. If they can beat Penn State, I think they're going to the championship. If Penn State can beat them, I think Penn State's going to the championship. It's just that important. I think that game will decide really who will be undefeated. If Penn State wins that game, I think Penn State can go undefeated. If Ohio State wins the game, they will probably go undefeated. But I will pick Ohio State in this one. So now here is just, again, my predictions. SEC, I have Georgia. Pac-12, I have Oregon. Big 12, I have Oklahoma. ACC, I have Clemson. And Big 10, I have Ohio State. So you can kind of use this as an idea for who I think will make the playoff. That will be a different video, but that is what I think about the conferences, the Power 5 conferences in college football this season. What do you guys think about them? Who do you think will make the championship games? Who do you guys even think will win? Tell me in the comment section below. I really like to read your comments and just hear what you guys think about college football and NFL football. But thank you guys for watching. If you enjoyed, don't forget to leave a like. And if you're new around here, feel free to subscribe for more daily NFL and college football content. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next video.